So we welcome you to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. And today is Wednesday, June the 15th, 2022. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. And we'd love to hear your comments and your questions because that makes this your show. And while we're waiting on Michael to get dialed in, I will tell you that Apple has approved the app. And so if you've got an iPhone, you can do an update and get the newest edition of the Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness app. And Google should be within today or tomorrow, but I have not heard from that one yet. So definitely go to your phone and see if there's an update and bring it in and check out all the changes. And we appreciate your support. We had a Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing on Saturday, and then Michael did a 3-hour Why Is This Happening to Me Again on Saturday. And I've got those on the website already, and well, not the Mind Shifters. That's only to the group that's participating in it. But the 3-hour why, if you go to our website and you click on I'm trying to click at the same time I'm talking. My apologies. So under schedule, there's still, it says free 3-hour Why Is This Happening to Me Again. It's also still under events. It's also under multimedia to watch and listen free, and you can pick it up there under the videos, free video downloads. And so all of that's out there. There's also under the media and under the 3-hour why both. Tim Kellis, who is the gentleman who hosted Michael doing this, he had done an interview prior with Michael, and that video is going to be out there as well. So we just invite everybody to hold Dr. Tim in the space, and we welcome you to the second hour. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart. Welcome, everybody. And, we definitely extend our hearts and the presence of love to Dr. Tim and his family, and to her mom, or his mom, pardon me, as she moves to the next level of her eternal existence. And one of the objectives of this work is to awaken people to the truth of that state of being, that where we realize that we are part of a universe that is eternal. And and I don't say this from a theological point of view. My background's in electronics with a side study in physics. And here's what physics says: everything in the universe is energy. There is nothing else but energy. And energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Only its form can be changed. And therefore, we must be energy. We must be eternal. Why don't we express that way? Well, I'd offer that we buy into drama and trauma, and we destroy ourselves. One of the things, if you're going to be a support person for people, is that you need to handle the drama and trauma in yourself and show up as a space of love for people who are in drama and trauma. Showing up as drama and trauma for people in drama and trauma isn't really serving those people. It's actually adding an extra load to people who what they really need is conscious, active, present love, so that whatever's moving in them that's of a painful nature can be processed through. So, thought there. And when you realize, if you haven't watched it in a while, or if you've never watched the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop, it's now on the website. We did a really tight workshop on Saturday. It was 3 hours, and I think it's one of the best why workshops I've ever done, and I've done it hundreds. Well, I don't know whether I could go into thousands of times or not, but certainly hundreds of times. Just trying to do the math. Anyway, it's irrelevant. So if you haven't done the Why Is This Happening to Me Again, please, avail yourselves of it. It's a free open. I mean, it's the whole workshop. Normally, that's something that is available as a purchase from our website. That workshop. It's not something we've ever made available. Just free, out, open, and somewhere some sort of cash flow has to come to keep all the projects going, to keep this work moving. So that's one of the things that we've done. And so we decided to put it out there, and it's a downloadable one, so you can save it to your computer. You can watch it as often as you want. You can send a link to anybody. Anybody can access it. There's no restriction on it whatsoever. And if it supports you, drop a buck in the donation bucket. Go to the website, go to whyagain.org, and support the work, or drop a 10 or a 20 or 50 or 10,000. Whatever fits, whatever works for you. However, it's serving you. And here's what we'll guarantee you. We live a pretty meager lifestyle, and everything that comes to this work, everything, is used to enhance the availability of these tools. If we come up with, for any reason, with some sort of a surplus, then we create another project for making these tools available. And so this Why Is This Happening to Me Again is just one more example of that. So support it. If it supports you, pass it on. Make it available to others. Our ultimate commitment is every mind, heart, and being on the planet. And we mean literally every. But one of the points that we make in that workshop is that, and we ask the question, and I'll run through the sequence of that, and that is, have you ever had any conflict in any of your relationships? Yeah, boy, sure. Repeatedly. And then, have you ever done anything you regret? And of course, everybody kind of rolls their eyes, and yeah, I have. Notice that the behavior that you did that you now regret was done when some form of hostility or fear was active in you. Now, since our culture thing and you need it and it'll keep you safe, and the whole thing around that is a total complete fraud and a lie. It's the only thing that will ever kill you is hostility and fear. The only thing. You say, well, no, I know somebody got a bacterial infection, and the bacterial infection, no, the bacterial infection didn't kill them. The tissue was weakened and the bacteria tried to clean up the mess, and they died as a result of the toxic energy that was destroying tissue. The bacteria is just a cleanup crew. The bacteria is a reducer organism. When something's weak and breaking down, it's there to clean up the mess so that the system doesn't become toxified even more deeply. Hostility and fear are disintegrative energies. The first idea in the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop that I usually express is my favorite quote from Einstein. And here's what Einstein says. On such things as matter, we've been all wrong. What we have heretofore called matter is energy. Energy whose vibrations become so low as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. So you don't live in a material world. You don't live in a physical world. Your eye makes it appear that way. You'll remember Yeshua 2,000 years ago said, don't judge by appearances. Constructs of the mind called perception make things look like something that they aren't. But under it all is energy. Under all the appearances. And, when we ask people what they were feeling when they did what they regretted, they always come up with sad, afraid, hate, vengeance, anger, grief, pain. Everything based in drama and trauma goes under that column. Well, notice that state of hostility or fear, your mind prompted you to do something that you regret. In essence, what you could say is that means your mind was giving you stupid advice, and you followed it. My offering would be never follow stupid advice from your mind ever again. Never open your mouth in hostility or fear again. Now, that's not an easy thing to do because most of our culture, so much of it is based in playing that hostility and fear game. When hostility or fear is active within the human system, the reason why that hostility and fear-based advice in a mind always leads to regret when somebody wakes up from their stupor of hostility and fear, the reason is because hostility and fear are simply signals. The only meaning hostility or fear has is that there's some sort of corrupt data in you that is contributing to the perception of the moment. 10 minutes ago you were rolling along happy and jolly and everything's good and I'm rocking and, I'm appreciating everybody and cherishing everybody. Somebody gives me the look, resonates my rage. I go into a fit of rage and I rage at them. After I go, I apologize, you're my friend. I should have never done that. And why did I do it? Because the minute that hostility or fear were activated, my mind was using corrupt data to build the literal world picture that I see of you, or that I see of myself, or that I see of the world or someone else. And it's amazing, even years after being in this work, people believe their mind's constructs based in hostility or fear. They still think their mind is telling them the truth about something out of this hostility and fear state. Every time that hostility or fear has ever been active in you, your mind has lied to you. The construct that it has shown you about yourself or someone else, whatever it is a lie. Now, yesterday, if you missed yesterday's show, I'd suggest you go back and listen to the archives. We talked again about the Aramaic Beatitudes. And those Beatitudes are not a nice philosophy. They're about how to set your mind up so your perception is accurate at every moment and serves you in the highest and best way possible, and especially serves you functioning as a human being. What is a human being? There aren't enough words in the language to describe what a human being is, but if you hold a newborn, you can get a direct experience of it. That's the energy that's designed to run your mind. Hostility or fear is not designed to run a human mind, at least not if you want a sane human mind. So the project becomes one of cleaning up a past based in hostility or fear, where whatever the mind told us in hostility or fear, the mind instantly convinced us what it saw was true. It's like in the Course in Miracles says, you did this to yourself. Take responsibility here. You trained your mind in its testimony, and when it fed it back to you, you believed what it told you. You did this to yourself. You got to stop. Got to give it up and return to the state where conscious, active, present love is your norm. Well, what if somebody in my space is in rage? Well, you know what they need more than anything else? The presence of active love. They need something that can ground them in sanity and get them back to the truth of what's going on. One of the best ways to repair a mind that's using corrupt data is to apply the tool of forgiveness. Not the Greek tool of letting somebody else off the hook, but the actual Aramaic technology for collapsing false output from the mind, processing the underlying trauma that leads to the false output, and returning to the point where the mind functions as it's designed to function, based in love. Well, what if there's a big conversation going on over and there's rage and fight and this? Yeah, so if there's a big conversation going on out there and there's rage and fight, why would you need to rage or fight? Unless there's rage or fight in you that's resonated by what's happening out there. And then it becomes your opportunity to learn forgiveness. It becomes your opportunity to remove that block. Remember, Paul talked about we see as though through a glass darkly. When hostility or fear are active, it puts a shroud over everything, and the shroud convinces us that the lie our mind is showing us is true about ourselves or about someone else. And the hostility or fear-based lie is never true. Can I get back to a state of love where love is the fuel that fires my mind? And if I see someone in pain, then I can hold them accountable. If somebody's in pain and they're doing damage to others, someone needs to step up in love and have the hard conversation of, and now you're going to stop this, and now you're going to be held accountable for what you're doing. A lot of people have this perspective that, if you're going to function as love, then you just have to be kind of mamby-pamby and let people walk all over you. No. If you function out of active present love, you're able to have the hard conversations, and you can stick with the person who wants to rage and drag you down and tear you apart if you've done the work of removing hostility or fear in you, and that's the fuel that runs the content of your mind. Now, if you were raised in a culture where hostility and fear, mom and dad's games, the power person games are all based on hostility or fear, this sounds like a far-off dream that's an impossibility. Well, my offering is it's not a far-off dream, but it is going to take a significant amount of work to achieve. All you're going to have to do is look inside and remove every bit of hostility or fear that your mind can throw at you, free yourself of it, and function as love. Function as you're designed to. Function as that newborn energy that you're made of. So that's what we're here to support. And again, if hostility or fear is moving in you, that's not the energy to take to someone who's in trauma. That just reinforces, that just drags it down. Bring forward active present love to trauma, and you become the space where healing occurs. And there might be people who refuse, who want to keep up their game of how they're going to blame you or blame somebody else, and they want to, they're hooked with their hostility or fear. I remember working with one therapist who, when I shared, a suggestion that they might want to look at something in their own minds, they just laughed. And just like, well, that's an interesting response. You've asked me for support in this, and when I invite you to look at how your issue might be resolved, you laugh. But that's the mind of hostility or fear. That's the game that it plays. And if that triggers something for you, then there's the next piece of work you get to do. And if you're going to, many people want to take this work and, this is awesome. I want to be able to support and pass this on to friends and family. Then the only thing you're going to have to do is face everything based on hostility or fear that's ever been structured in you and in your bloodline and clean it up. And then bingo, you're now ready to go for it. And it's a process, and it takes time. And we're here to support you. That's the objective of everything we do. So inviting you once again to go to whyagain.org. Give a listen to the Why Is This Happening? Brand new one, right? The latest up to date. We just did it on Saturday. If you go to events, there's a link there. It'll take you to Vimeo, and it's a downloadable link, free and open, so we can share it with anyone. And then really step into actually doing the forgiveness process, actually putting the pen to the paper and doing the work of forgiveness. There's also a link there are over 20 different radio shows where either Dr. Tim or Jeannie or myself has walked somebody through a whole worksheet. And there's a new link, and it was a really powerful session that we did last week in the Hear My Voice book club out of London, England. It was actually about a 2.5-hour process. There was some Q&A in it, but a really powerful worksheet, and we got to elucidate in several of the fine points of the forgiveness process. So once you watch, I'd suggest do it in this order. Watch Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And then there's a video on our YouTube channel that's titled PowerPoint, and it explains. It was actually done by a fellow named Bill Constantine. Is a corporate trainer, and he had done teacher training, and he approached me and said, Michael, I'm really good at doing PowerPoints, and I'd like to do a PowerPoint that explains the complexity of this forgiveness process. So Bill and I spent about a year going back and forth refining that. And so watch that PowerPoint and then watch that 2.5-hour worksheet video. And you've got a really good foundation for stepping in and utilizing the forgiveness process. You can add to that, or I'd suggest that you go to the website, our website, let me back up. Suggest that you go to your app store on your phone, and in the app store, whether you've got an iPhone or an Android, doesn't matter, type in the words Heartland, one word, Heartland, Aramaic, Aramaic, forgiveness. You'll be looking at the world's only forgiveness app. It's a free app. It's an app that only asks for one permission. And so it's designed specifically to be extremely private so that you can tell your worksheets in that app anything you want. You can save a worksheet once you complete it, and it will ask for one other permission, that is to be able to write to your drive. But we don't ask for, the ability to take pictures or send texts or change settings or make phone calls or any of the garbage that a lot of apps do for whatever reason. 2 simple permissions, and it's totally private. Start doing the forgiveness process. It is monumental in how it shows you how to access unresolved trauma energy in the presence of love and forgive, remove that trauma energy. So there's a nice little package that's available, and actually I'm putting together an assembly of several different pieces. If you would like to be, if you're not on our mailing list, you can go to the website, whyagain.org, and at the bottom you can click a link that says, join our mailing list. I don't know, do we have a place in the app, Jeannie, where people can join the mailing list?
Yes, when they first open it up and put their name in, there is a block there that they can check that says save me to your mailing list. And
Perfect.
If they check it, then I add them to it. And if they don't check it, I don't.
Okay, awesome. So you can, get on the mailing list, and once I complete this, I'm kind of working on a couple of things, but I'm assembling along with the link to the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop and the PowerPoint and the 2.5-hour session we did in the Hear My Voice Book Study Club. And by the way, the second and fourth Thursday of every month at 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time, it's 8:30 London, England time. Put that on your calendar, put an alarm in, and you can grab the link under events from the webpage and join us for the book study. We're going to be stepping into the first 3 chapters in our next session. So the second and fourth Thursday of each month, 3:30 Eastern Time. So join us for that, and of course we're here to answer questions and get that worksheet really working for you. It amazes me how many people are introduced to the idea of forgiveness and they go, rah, rah, that's really exciting, and hesitate to put the pen to the paper to do the actual process. It's kind of mind-boggling for me, but in any event, put it together. If you join the mailing list, we'll send out, probably it'll be sometime within a week that I'll get this thing together, this assembly of links together that will give you a program to follow that will really help to refine your skills in using that forgiveness tool. So delighted that you're with us. And do we have anybody, Miss Jeannie, with the hand up in the phone queue or anything happening in the chat room to be aware of?
No, it is all quiet. And you can also access the PowerPoints on our website without going to the Vimeo site. You can go to Start Here and then go down and it says PowerPoints, and you get several options from our site. You can download it as a Microsoft PowerPoint onto your computer. There's also the YouTube script, so if you're watching it on Vimeo, on YouTube, there's the script of it, so you can follow along. There's also the full presentation with the audio, and then you can also go to Vimeo and click the PowerPoint. So you've got 4 different options if you go to our website. So.
Perfect. And have we put the new workshop from Saturday on our YouTube page?
No, I've got it on our website in about 3 different places, and I'm working on getting the Beatitudes for the last 2 days up there, but I do not have it out there yet on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, let's make a note and put it on YouTube, too, for people who access stuff through YouTube who maybe don't go to our website. So that's awesome. Well, if you're out there in listener land and you're on one of those stations where we can't see you in our control panel, most people dial into the show to listen to it. But if you're listening on one of those other stations, we can't tell you're there, so we can't answer any questions for you. However, if you dial into the show, and the call-in number is 563-999-3581, 563-999-3581. If you call that number, you'll be listening to the show directly. And having dialed in, if you push 1 on your phone, through the magic of technology, that raises a hand in the control panel, and Jeannie will know that you want to speak to us. And so if you're out there in listener land, how can we support you? What's on your mind? Questions, thoughts, something to share. What's your experience of the process of engaging in forgiveness? Have you started to use it yet? And if you haven't, how can we support you? What questions do you have? Is there something that has you hesitate? And I know that unconsciously, my take over, the years of developing this and working with thousands of people, there's an unconscious knowing about what needs to be faced. And most people organize their lives, their eating habits, their drinking habits, their time, so they never look at what's going on inside of them. They are always busy. It's the biggest drug on the planet. And just taking the time to stop and look inside is something that brings up, for most people, stark raving terror. Like there might be something in there chasing them, and they've organized their lives to skip over, to just stay in the surface mind and never engage within. The invitation here is to really start to engage within and recognize that it's safe, and whatever it is that has you not wanting to look, remember that by not looking, that energy is still impacting your physiology. I'd offer that the things that people don't want to look at in their lives are the things that their diseases are made of, literally. I'm talking now physical, mental, emotional, relational, and financial diseases. That's the stuff that those diseases are made of. And so when one begins to look within, and that's what the forgiveness process does, if you utilize that worksheet, you'll start seeing things in your mind that may at first shock you, it may be dismaying, it may be extremely painful. But here's the thing. All of that dismay and pain is going on. It's just going on unconsciously. And as long as we never interrupt it and heal that dynamic, then it creates degeneration in the tissue that it's stored in. It literally becomes our physiological diseases. So our invitation is recognize that, and as you start to go in, you take the load off of the tissue structure. You take the burden off of your physiology and watch the dis-ease energies in your life begin to disappear. Watch the symptoms resolve themselves. Because there's no other cause of disease in the human realm other than an energy that does not belong, and that energy is creating deterioration. Now, again, the culture's got this conversation, no, there's this bug, and this bug got in my body, and that's why I have a disease. And that's just pure bunk. That's salesmanship. That's done by an industry that's making billions of dollars off of that false belief. In fact, this month, the British Medical Journal, you might just Google British Medical Journal and evidence-based medicine. They've got an article in there, and this is, the oldest. Say it again, Jeannie. Okay. This is the oldest medical journal on the planet, and they're calling out their own I'm not even sure what to call it. Their whole industry, they're calling it out, and they're pointing at the frauds that are happening. Now, how can you be assured that I know what I'm talking about when I talk about the cause of disease? Well, there's a pretty simple way to recognize the fallacy of the bug is the problem, the bacteria, the virus. Now, let's imagine that out in the front yard I have a 1-acre lot, and I rope off 1 square foot on this corner of the lot, and then I rope off 1 square foot on the farthest corner away from one I just marked. And I count how many bacteria and viruses and bugs and buzzards and creepy crawly things there are around each square foot. Is there going to be a difference? Now, obviously, they're going to be probably pretty much the same. It's just a lot and there's nothing special going on. But what happens, let's say it's a nice warm day, it's body temperature, 98.6 degrees, and I drop a dead rabbit in that square foot on one corner of the lot, and I leave it there for a couple of days, and I come back. And I'm going to do another count of the number of bacteria, viruses, bugs, and buzzards there are around each square foot. Is there going to be a difference? Is there going to be an elevated count somewhere? Absolutely. 100% of the time, it's going to be where the decaying tissue is. Now, how many think if you kill off all the bacteria, the viruses, the bugs, and the buzzards, that the rabbit's going to get up and run around again? It's not going to happen. The decaying tissue attracts or brings into expression a cleanup crew. They're called reducer organisms, and they're designed to take out that which is decaying. A lion is a reducer organism in the jungle. Does a lion go after the biggest, toughest, longhorn buffalo in the crowd? No. The lion hangs around the edges and waits for the weak, calls it from the herd, and by doing so protects the herd. The bacteria and the virus are protect mechanisms. They are upgrade mechanisms. Unless we pour toxic poisons on top of them and further toxify the tissue in order to get rid of them because we think they're the cause of our diseases. Now, that doesn't mean don't ever use a drug for an infection. If your immune system's not up to par and you're unable to handle it, no question, that drug can save a life. But there's a difference between saving a life and healing a form. Every drug is a disease disguised as a cure. Don't take my word for it. Just get one of your packages down off of the shelf, open it up, and notice there's an insert in it, and there's going to be a whole list of diseases that substance causes. Every drug is a disease disguised as a cure. But this artificial molecule, they've experimented with and found that there are certain symptoms that, while it creates other symptoms which may be worse than what one's dealing with, there are certain symptoms that come from the use of that particular substance in a structure. That means these things cause diseases. Now, it just amazes me how deeply brainwashed people have become. And this is part of, read that article I'm talking to you about. This is from medical researchers. They're telling on themselves, and they're talking about the fraud and the deception and how the pharmaceutical industry has betrayed. And, if you take a look, the billions of dollars for criminal activity that these pharmaceutical houses pay over and over and over again, and yet somehow people still believe in them. I mean, if you had a company that, 10 times over had to pay $1 million, $2 million, $10 million, $3 billion, there've been fines assessed for as much as $3 billion against the pharmaceutical industry because of fraud, because of deception. And yet people still pop those things like they're candy. I invite you to consider now, don't go jumping off of medications on my say so. If you're on medications and you're ready to make a change, get with your doctor, get support, get a professional, get somebody who knows what's going on, and start to engage in the cause of health rather than using a major cause of disease to try to maintain your health. Statistics show the number 3 cause of death in America is iatrogenic. That means doctor caused. Think. Start to take responsibility, educate yourself, and you may see some different outcomes. And one of the most potent ways that you can remove the toxic energies that create decaying tissue that gives rise to the bacteria or gives a food supply to the bacteria, one of those potent ways you can deal with those things is through forgiveness. And that's why we've dedicated as much energy to bringing that forward to the world as we have. And I would think that conversation should arouse some questions, some comment. And so, again, our call. Oh, well, let's say hello.
610, you're on the air. I think it's Miss Susan.
It is, and boy, are you on a topic. I want to ask you a question about Michael Ryce.
Go for it, young lady. Are you going to try to get me in trouble?
No, this is really good stuff, though. My grandson, Jake, is at a theater program in New York, and he is a fragile fellow at this point. But he called me yesterday, and he said, can you hear my the sound of my voice. And I said, yeah, it sounds as if you have a golf ball stuck in the back of your throat. What gives? He said, that's just exactly right. I've got this big, I can hardly talk, and I certainly can't sing, and I am exhausted, he said. And I said, whoa, get yourself to a health center right away. They have these emergency centers, you know. I said, go over there. So he went over there. They said, kid, you have an abscess. Go to the emergency room. He went to the emergency room, and they said, no, it's not an abscess. It's a virus, and we're going to give you a steroid for 5 days, and it should reduce this. Well, he felt better. They gave him some kind of an infusion right away, shot or something. He got himself home. He called and said, well, I'm home. It was 11 o'clock at night, and he had called it around 2 in the afternoon. The poor guy, he said, it's better. Can you hear it? And I said, yeah. I said, call me tomorrow. Go to bed. And probably you shouldn't go to school tomorrow well, he tried to go. That's a long story. But he ended up going back home. He didn't feel well enough to hack it. Called me toward the end of the day. Sounded better still. But this morning he called again and he said, it isn't better. It's worse. And I could hear it. It wasn't as bad as before, but it looks as if the steroid isn't doing the trick. And I'm wondering, I just had this feeling that he may just not be able to swallow his life or swallow his present situation. He keeps saying things like, I've lost my looks. He's gained 40 pounds on some medication they have him on it's an antipsychotic or something, or anti-bipolar. I don't know what they all are. He says, I don't think I can be an actor, and I don't even know if I really want to be. So I'm wondering if he's developing symptoms to get out of the trajectory he put himself on, which is no longer a very good fit. And I'm not even sure of that. In any case, Michael, there are so many factors that could be in here. I asked him if he'd had a COVID test, and they said, yes, they gave him a test when he was at center, and I haven't heard that it's positive. And I know COVID can look awfully funny in different people, but nobody else has this. And he's at his wit's end. He doesn't know what to make of it. And I keep thinking, boy, the kid, he probably should just come here. Leave the program. We'll take a real hit because it was expensive. But come home. I want to cave and just say, come home. This isn't right for you. Let's regroup. Let's have you rest. But does anything about what I tell you strike you in any way?
Well, he may well be, creating symptoms for himself as a way to escape from that situation. But, I don't know how many different medications he's on. It sounds like from what he did in the past, there's more than one, and this may be, a side effect of the medication that he's on. And unfortunately, if it is a side effect of a medication, then you use another medication to handle the side effect. You just redoubled and created still another set of side effects. And, unfortunately, that just tends to go on. That's a really tough place. And, what he needs is a healer. What he needs is someone who, as opposed to, my take would be, as opposed to someone who's practicing medicine, and, school systems have got a setup, and they're pretty much going to follow the traditional party line. But if he could find someone who's a holistic practitioner who can look at his medications and see what kind of interactions and what's going on. I mean, to put on 40 pounds, that's quite a load for a body to carry physically, emotionally, and it sounds like for him psychologically.
Well, it is.
If I remember correctly, when he was in Florida.
What'd you say?
Well, if I remember correctly, when he was in Florida, he was, singing and participating and doing all of those things. And if this medication has caused him to move into a place where he's now self-conscious of his body, and it's difficult to do that, I mean, that's a pretty horrendous side effect. Do you know anybody, that is a practitioner that can look at those things and support him by, maybe there's an alternative medication he can use. Maybe there's something he can do nutritionally. But he really, really needs somebody that's a professional in the medical arena and being able to really look at drug interactions. And 40 pounds is a lot. That's a big load.
He was rail thin before. So now he's not, you wouldn't look at him and say he's fat, but he's got a bloated look about him, even though he's not, it doesn't strike you as being too heavy, but it's a weird kind of weight too. It's a puffiness.
And if he's bloated, that means there's congestion, and congestion is what creates the food supply for something to start to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, in the system medicine I'm trained in, literally the whole cause of disease is congestion. And if there's, let's say if it's water weight, if water isn't being processed through his system properly, then and there are bacteria and viruses that are naturally in the body. If you take water and you put some bacteria in it and you put it in a closed container and sit it over there at 98.6 degrees, that container is probably going to explode before long, because there's going to be a growth and an expansion. And it sounds like that kind of growth and expansion is perhaps happening in his body. And, treating that with another medication rather than dealing with the underlying cause, to me doesn't sound like wisdom, but it's going to take a particularly knowledgeable, holistic MD, I would say, to assist him in walking through that. I don't know if you've got anybody there or if there's anybody up near the school that he might be able to consult with, but that's really tough for a young man like that. Jeez.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, I do know someone down here. She's just had back surgery, which is a thought in itself. Wonderful medical doctor who left practicing straight old medicine to become a functional medical person and an acupuncturist.
That's what he
and
needs.
Nutritionist. Yeah, she's not available right now, but she's right near me. She's a good friend. In fact, I've tried to get Dr. Tim connected with her so he could interview her. She's really an amazing person. Mm-hmm. But I also have some resistance in my daughter is very much the medical route, and she doesn't want me fiddling with it.
That's another.
It's always tricky.
I hear you.
And so many things.
Boy, that's between a rock and a hard place.
I know. She has asked me not to mess around, but I'll have to have another talk because this has gone to another level. This just is not right. Something feels really wrong. I want him to just come here, but I don't want to abort whatever because he may push through. He may get better. He may be able to finish the program. Who knows?
And maybe he could temporarily withdraw with the program due to health concerns, and maybe they would understand, and he'd be able to continue with the program too. That's always petition them for that option. If the young man's got health challenges. Then,
yeah, it's only a 6-week program, but anyway, thanks for that.
I would suggest that you Google the article in the British Journal of Medicine on evidence-based medicine, and perhaps hand that to your daughter so that she can at least ask some questions like, why, in what world could we call it healthy for someone to take on or to start to take a pill and put on 40 pounds? I mean, how could anybody classify that as proper medication and healthy? It just makes no sense. And
yeah, it does.
that article might give your daughter a space, that it's not coming from you, but a space to start to question what's going on, because that's just outrageous.
Yeah. Poor baby. Okay. Well, thanks for that. So.
And we have someone here that is a friend who's a medical doctor. If you don't know, if this woman isn't available, and you don't know anyone else who might be, and there's got to be somebody up where he is that is into functional medicine and can create support. I certainly have great empathy for him.
Yeah.
It's like,
thanks.
You go to something for support and help, and it becomes the next burden. It's like he's got enough on his plate.
Yeah, he does. Okay. Boy, one challenge after
so
another.
I breathe with you, holding the space.
Thanks. Thank you.
Any other thoughts for you? Anything else we can do to support
of weird
you?
Thoughts, but sorry, Michael, I interrupted.
Well,
go ahead.
Tell us some of your weird thoughts.
I finished watching The Chosen, what they've done so far, and then there are all of these subsidiary clips that you can watch their process. You can hear the guy who is the producer and writer of this show, who's an amazing guy. And in these clips, you learn that he is filming a lot of this, maybe all of it, in Texas, and that he's a member of a mega church, probably 14,000 people in his mega church. And suddenly I get this awful, awful feeling that maybe this wonderful series and this portrayal of a Christ-like figure like nothing I've ever seen, coming from people who are of a different political persuasion than I am. I begin to scare myself,
That sounds like a worksheet. I mean, I can't imagine that, and I think I know the political persuasion you're talking about when you mention Texas. I can't imagine, there was a saying in the scriptures, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Could anything good come out of that persuasion that could reflect as Yeshua reflects in that series? I don't think so. And if it does, more power to it. But take a lot of correction to come up with that, I think. And so it sounds like I think you're the young man who's creating it has got to be on a different track than that.
I'm hoping so. Yeah, and there is definitely, I've been doing the worksheets, and it always comes up that maybe I've been wrong this whole time. Maybe actually they know something I don't know. Deep scare tactics like maybe I've been mistaken. Everything that I thought made sense, maybe it's wrong. That sort of thinking. Very, very
Sounds
scary
like
thinking.
The next level of cleaning up your mind.
Oh, yeah, definitely. If it could be cleaned, it feels as if, whoa, this is just way out there. So anyway.
Next layer, next level. As you hit a new level of vitality, you get to deal with something that yesterday you couldn't even have started to fathom dealing with. And that's how the work proceeds.
Well, I notice you're not having to do deep breathing, and that's a very healing thought to me. Just the fact that you don't go, oh my God, you may be right.
Well, I'll tell you what's coming to mind for me, and I've shared this with you. You were on the show, I think, when I shared it originally, was the opening that I had in the Still Point session where I was called on my ancestors to process the darkness and the pain that they were carrying.
Yeah.
And, I look at that, and, I've been doing this work for half a century, and that I feel like I finally got to the level of vitality that I was able to the level of vitality and the level of consciousness, I was able to look at that and accept and be with that. And I couldn't have done that previously.
Wow.
I don't think I could have done that previously. And so, if you're opening that part of your mind on a new level, the only reason it can open is because you're ready for it. So be with it and have confidence in it and go with it. Make sure that you ask Ruka's guidance and stay on track with it.
Okay.
And I notice a particular component in our conversation today, and I want to acknowledge you for it. And that is that you have not put forward in the whole conversation and your concern about Jacob, you've not put one thought forward that indicates in any way, shape, or form that somehow you think it might be your fault.
Oh.
And that's awesome.
Oh, yes.
That you're seeing yourself as innocent support rather than, oh my God, what did I do?
Mhm. Oh, okay. Oh, thanks.
So, nice work for being innocent support,
Mm-hmm.
even in the context of the conversation about your daughter. That's pretty powerful.
Well, thanks. I hadn't thought of that.
Well, just feedback.
Thanks.
Because over the years, the norm would be somehow it always comes back to being your problem, your fault, something. And, I don't hear any intimation of that whatsoever. So that's awesome.
Good. Thanks, Michael.
And I share your pure heart and concern for your grandson.
I do too. In fact, I might text him. I know he's at school, but he might be free enough to give me an idea of how he's doing today. Been trying to leave him alone, but good that he knows people are thinking about him too.
Yeah, if I were you, unless he indicates otherwise, I'd keep in close contact, letting him know that you're the space and you're here to support him.
Okay. I will.
You're like a lifeline that it sounds like he doesn't have with Dad, and is, somewhat tenuous with Mom.
Yeah, she's very much supporting of him, but she gets so frightened that she gets mad. She's, oh, Jake, just go to school. And I know that's her fear.
Well, it's probably her opportunity for a forgiveness lesson. So I'll hold the space that if it is, that she's able to see it, and she's got the brain cells for the work of Yeshua and creating support for many people in communities. So let's hold the space that she can turn that support toward herself and open the space for herself.
I hope so, yeah.
And ask for support where she needs it.
Right. Good thoughts.
From what you've shared with me of how she works within communities and is so powerful at offering care and concern that that perhaps she can open and receive the level of care and concern that she offers.
Yeah. Okay. I know it's toward the end. How's Jeannie's dad doing?
Dad's doing pretty well. Good. He'd sort of been becoming, the class clown. He's been socializing. Usually when we're over there, and do you want to stay in your room? Or you want to go down to the, there's a common room. He'll usually stay in his room. And the last couple of weeks, he's like, no, take me down there. And he sits right at the main table, and he's with everybody, and he's kind of hanging out and socializing and being the class clown, being literally being entertainment. The last day or two, he's kind of quieted down a little bit from that, but he's doing pretty well.
Oh, good.
He seems to be enjoying his environment there.
Good.
And I think
That's so
probably the quieting down the last couple of days, he has now developed 2 more bed sores, so he's probably in a little bit of pain.
good. Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's in a wheelchair or in his recliner or in bed, so that is a challenge.
Well, guys,
So
thank
on
you
that
so much.
note, seeing
Yeah.
as we're down to the last minute, we'll extend the presence of love to Dad, to you and Jake, and to Jake's mom. We'll just
Thank you.
join in extending that energy of the presence of love and the sweetness of heart that you have for him. It's awesome.
Thanks. Thank you so much. It's all going to help.
All right,
I'll
blessings.
keep you
Take care.
posted. Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Everybody, have the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. The world needs it. You can give it. Blessings. Bye-bye.